Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Thirsty Professional. This is a place where we grab a bevy, ditch the BS, and we get real about careers, purpose, and passion. I'm your host, Beth Campbell, survivor of 23 years in corporate chaos. I am now working on my business ownership badassery. I'm also author of the award-winning Where the Hell is My Bacon? Yes, I swear to God, it is award-winning, this crazy titled book. If you're watching live, please let us know that you are here in the comments, because otherwise we won't know. Where are you from? And most importantly, what are you drinking? I already know Stella's going to be here and she's drinking a latte with ice cream on the side. How great is that? I know, right? Why did we never think of this? Hey, if there's any lurkers out there, I want to talk to you for just a second. Hey, I can't see you. I don't know you're here, and I don't want to make you uncomfortable. But if you're new and you're like, I don't know what to do on a live, just introduce yourself, where you're from, what are you drinking? No worries. Most of us don't bite. I can't speak for everybody, but most people are pretty good, and it's a great opportunity to get yourself out there. If you are here watching the replay, please give us a hashtag replay. And of course, if you have any questions or feedback, let us know so we can address it during the live stream. And if not, we will do it on a future episode or maybe in the comments. So today, my very special badass squared guest on The Thirsty Professional is Jennie Eriksen. So let me tell you a few things about Jennie if you don't know. She is the co-founder of EventRaptor, eventraptor.com. Very easy to remember. Go check it out right now. It is an innovative virtual event management system, simplifies running global virtual events. She's very passionate about connecting those event hosts with speaking talent for their platforms. So this is, if you're a speaker, wannabe speaker, professional speaker, I can't speak today. I need to take some speaking lessons today. She's also been a voiceover artist for over a decade. She's got some strong feelings about networking events, and I don't know, maybe even might be working on a book. Is it about networking? I don't know. We'll find out for sure. And for 10 years, over a decade, she had this, it's a neurological condition called a hemifacial spasm. And she lost the use of half of her face for over a decade, but then had brain surgery. We're going to talk about that as well. So much. Oh my God, it's going to be great. Please welcome Jennie Eriksen. Jennie, so glad to have you on the show. Thank you so much for agreeing to be my guest. I'm just,
it's delightful to be here. So I'm already looking at the comments, and I can always see Doris is already on the Earl Grey and a couple of cheeky rich tea biscuits. So for anybody who, for you lovely Americans, that's not the lovely things you have with your breakfast. That's quintessentially.
Yeah, it's a cookie. Yeah, it's like a type of a cookie, more of a cookie than what we would call a biscuit. Yeah, a biscuit is more of a scone. It's very we need a translation.
It's what you call a dunkable biscuit. In other words, you can put it in coffee, tea, anything. It's a universal biscuit, and yeah, so good on you, Doris.
I love that, Jennie. Every cookie here, in my opinion, in no matter what, is dunkable in. At least in milk here. So what are you drinking today? I saw you holding up a cup. What are you drinking?
Well, actually, normally I've just finished a cup of tea. Actually, normally I'm a peppermint tea kind of gal, but at the moment I've got water, which is really boring.
I always carry my little spare water on the side with my alma mater, Western Michigan University. So yeah, no, it's good. There is no bad drink here. So yeah.
No, I should have bought my Michigan mug with me. Actually, it's downstairs.
That's right. You have a Michigan tie-in, which I love. So I also wanted to I just have to put this on the record, because you have, and I know this, I think this was, as you might have said earlier in a comment, that this was perhaps accidental, but you right now have set the bar for the best guest photo. So if you're watching this live, you have seen the graphic for this episode, either on YouTube or on LinkedIn. You've seen this awesome picture of Jennie with her hair down, which I love. If I didn't hate having hair on my face so much, I would have shown up with my hat, with my hair down, but I can't deal. But it is my favorite. And I know, did you tell me that this was not intentional, that you sent me that photo?
No, I'm at the stage in my life where frankly, I don't care. It is a photo that exists, and I just sent it. But actually it was quite nice because I was on something called the Marketers Cruise recently, and a lot of people there, they have podcasts, and somebody asked if I'd be on the podcast. Let's do it outside, she said. So I thought, that's lovely. Well, of course, the whole the whole interview, because it's a visual as well, looks like that, because my hair is literally like this. And she's saying, tell me about EventRaptor. And it's kind of like, well, so it's very unsophisticated. I look dreadful, but who cares? I don't care.
I'm with you. I thought it looked great. So did you tell me that you had some possible hats that you might at least show us, if not?
Yeah, see, I got in my own head about this because you said the sort of gold standard would be a tiara, and I'm sure that I've got one of my daughter's tiaras from way back when somewhere in the lockup. But I thought, do I give you my travel hat? See, this is my travel hat. So when I have this hat on,
Adorable, very cute.
I'm on the go.
Yeah.
But then I thought, in sort of to embrace the sort of quirkiness, or here's my 80s, no, my 90s throwback being a girl pop band.
Oh, yes.
Or the sort of quintessential, all right, governor London look. But then, in line with the hair, this is my it's cold outside look.
Jennie, I love all of them. This one is it.
One to go. This is my haven't worn it out in public. Will do one day, just when I, whatever. But I just love it. And it's actually my daughter's, but I mean, this is just it, isn't it? I mean,
that is it. It's a tough call between the last two, but I think this one with the ears, that's going to take the cake.
Should I take it off?
It's really up to you. I mean, for me, I'd keep it on, but
I'll keep it on. But then when I get pinker than my brows, I might take it off. But so far so good, and there we go.
It's funny because I get a little bit. I don't get super nervous anymore, but I get a little flushed. But I always tend to look so washed out in videos that I just go with it because it makes me look almost normal because I'm probably, if I looked in the mirror, I'd probably be like super red right now. So I get it. I get a little a little heated and stuff too. But okay, let me just check in real quick with the comments here because we did see a few people. Doris, of course, the wonderful Doris, who's going to be a guest on this show in a few weeks, I think.
You're calling it the booby hat. Can you delete something? Honestly,
I can't do anything
to be my friend. Yes, it is.
Doris, come on, hey, I'm all up for some very fun nicknames, but let's see if we can do better than the booby hat. Even though there's nothing wrong with that. Doris is on Earl Grey tea and some biscuits, as we've discussed. Stella is here as well. Latte with ice cream on the side. I think when Stella told me that she was doing latte with ice cream on the side, I thought, why have I never put a little dollop of ice cream in my coffee? Because I do like a little sweet and a little creamy. And so, I don't know.
She's my kind of gal, if it's latte and ice cream, I mean, that's a marriage made in heaven. So,
right? I mean, I would invite Stella on here with us, but that's too much badass for the world to deal with right now. We got a lot of badass. We got Doris, we got Stella, we've got Stephanie Bannock. Hello. She says all those breakfast treats sound delicious. I agree. Doris loves the bright red lipstick that you had in your shot with your lovely hair flying. I did too. I tried to match that with the color. It's kind of a bright pink. It looked like, at least in the photo.
It is a bit. They do say, and there's history behind red lipstick, isn't there? That it was supposed to signify something in years gone by about women being powerful. But I can't rock it. I love the idea of wearing red lipstick, but it kind of doesn't work. So I always have to kind of pinky it a little bit. But the idea of wearing this hat and rocking red lipstick and sort of strolling through London town is just, I'll give it a go.
I almost can't even because it's over the top. Yeah. I have got my lipstick on today, but I'm a little bit of a junkie. So I've got 3 different things on my lips right now.
Yeah,
but you can't go wrong with a good color. So we've got Bonnie here. Bonnie, hey, nice to see you, Bonnie. Bonnie, who I know from my Thinking Into Results program, but she's very active out here on LinkedIn land as well as on Facebook. Nice to have you, Bonnie. Doris likes the furry cat. Which one's the furry cat? Is that the one before, or is that the one? Oh, the boob. And then she says the booby hat. Yeah, that one's. They're both adorable. You do rock a hat, Jennie. You do rock a hat.
Well, thank you.
Bonnie says,
did she mean she might have meant my dinosaur, because obviously I've got my dinosaur behind me. I can't see it in the shop, but this is my 30th wedding anniversary present. When most husbands buy, we're going on a cruise, darling, or shall I buy you a piece of fabulous jewelry? My husband decided to buy me a dinosaur from IKEA, and I love it, actually. It just...
Frankly speaking, I think everyone needs a stuffed dinosaur in their office. So
indeed. They do indeed.
Bonnie says glamorous. Trisha says you rock them all, meaning all of your hats. I agree. Ellen
Right.
Pizzi joining us, I think probably from New Jersey, making coffee now. Love the photo. Those hats are adorable. Trisha Lewis, Earl Grey, I'm gonna
Rooibos.
Rooibos. Thank you.
Rooibos.
And did I pronounce it wrong the time before? Is it Bournemouth or
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth? Bournemouth. Thank you. Like
Bournemouth.
Born Identity. Okay, Bournemouth. Okay, awesome.
Mm.
Stella's laughing at I don't know what. My goodest friend Corey Joe Bennett. Love the hats, ladies. Thank you, Corey Joe, for joining in. Mike Goggin. My God, there's so many people joining today. Mike Goggin, my good friend and former boss and former colleague. Always a pleasure to see you here. And he's got coffee and a punch key. Oh, because it's that time of year. Oh God, I haven't had a punch key in too long. Do
Well, you
you
have to tell me what it is now
do you know
because I
what a
don't
punch
know.
key is? Okay, so punch key is I think it's somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a Fat Tuesday thing. There's some religious connotation, and maybe Bonnie, because Bonnie's, I think Bonnie's from Poland, but it is like as a donut, as we would call it in the States, a donut, so a pastry with something in the middle filled, and sometimes it's powdered covered, basically and they're big and they're dense and they're lovely and delicious. So like a big
Mm.
round, like a big almost round, like a ball round donut or pastry that's filled with stuff.
Is it Polish? It sounds like it should be a Polish delicacy of some kind,
I
or
think it is. It's spelled. I believe it is Polish, but in the States, in where I'm from, we pronounce it punch key, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I apologize, but that's what we call it. So
Hmm.
awesome. Okay, well, so let's jump in because we got so much to talk about. I don't even know where to start. So let's start a little bit, Jenny, about what you do now and kind of how you got the high level of how you got to here, and then we can go from there.
Well, what do we do now? Actually, we were just thinking this week it seemed to have popped up that it was 5 years since we had our global interrupt, the thing that we try not to talk about. And, 5 years ago, we were going to be the cool kids, Steve and I. We had both our children in different countries. We had our son in Dubai and our daughter was in Melbourne. We thought we'd be digital nomads, the cool kids. Hey, your parents have rocked up. Here we are, and we're going here next. And then a bit of a global interrupt happened. And that's actually how EventRaptor happened. We had wanted to be more visible, and that's something that you and I talk about. People won't just find you. You have to work on being visible.
Yeah.
And we wanted to run our own events and be visible and talk about what we did. My ears are wobbling as I'm doing this. It's because I nod my head a lot. So we decided we want to run our own virtual events. And I'm married to an automations guy. I mean, if Steve can automate something, then he will, and he does. And so having sort of run our first event, he automated so much stuff because there's loads to do. You've got speaker bios and landing pages and what time is Beth Ann speaking and did the email go out. So his automated system he created morphed into EventRaptor because people were saying, that seems like a good idea. Would you ever consider making it? And so we kind of took a family decision. Now we became boomerang parents because our children went and then they came back and then they went again. So we had our son home for a bit and he went, yeah, why don't you do it? So that's how EventRaptor was born, so to speak. But, during that time, I've continued with my voiceover work and really, because we've been in the virtual world for so long, so many people were really struggling to go, I'm a bricks and mortar business, or I go to networking meetings at the local town hall or community centre. How do I do this thing and turn up online? And so the nice thing for Steve and I is, having done so much online previously, it was a nice way to show other people that what you talk about is not just US, UK centric, that there literally is a whole world out there that would love to hear what it is you have to say. So really, that's been our passion. So, Steve is the tech guy. I can't pretend that I made anything of EventRaptor.
Oh, we know, Steve.
I nodded in the right places, but that's really then it's full circle. It's become something that we love to do, and tying into my networking, my love of networking for well over a couple of decades, making connections and helping people get out there and be seen and be heard. Because, so many fabulous people with so many fabulous things to say.
And all related to. So I want to talk just a little bit about EventRaptor first of all, because I want people to understand. So you help host. So you work with hosts for their platforms or their events, summits, that kind of thing, right? Virtual summits. But it's not just that, because what I love that you do, Jenny, you and Steve, is you have this platform, and yes, okay, you're helping people host their summits and their virtual events, and you're helping them link up with speakers. But you're very actively involved in that, in such that, so for example, you have a like a class going on right now, right? You have a yeah, so you hold courses, right? You have a regular, you have a Facebook group, Speaker Connections. Everybody should go out there. If you're at all interested in hosting or speaking, go out there and join that group. It's amazing. And then you also have your networking events where you hook up hosts with speakers in a
Yep.
networking, in a virtual networking. So I love that you all do such a great job of really fostering that connection. It's not just, okay, here's a platform for hosts, and like you said, people have to take responsibility. Anybody who's out there thinking, I really want to be a speaker, and you're just waiting for somebody, nobody's going to come.
Yeah.
And just, if they did, they would have already, I would be on a stage right now, right? They would have said, help Beth Ann Campbell, let's get her. So you do have responsibility, but I love that it's very interactive. It's not just a static, here's an event, because there are those out there. I've been involved in some of those other platforms where it's just, you have to go and here it is, but I don't, that's it. It's just sort of static. You guys do a really good job of proactively connecting. So I love that.
Well, we try to create something that something for everybody, if you like. So, when EventRaptor was created, it was to help people be autonomous. In actual fact, one of our very first clients was a lady in her 70s in Canada who said, I want to run my own virtual events, and I want to do it on my own, and I don't want you to help me. But these are things I feel challenged by. And so Steve worked with her to try and make EventRaptor as user-friendly as possible. So we have loads of people that use the system, and they rinse and repeat, and off they go run their events. Or there might be people that go, oh, could you do it for us? Or could you do a bit of it? Or things that people need in order to get out there. Often people will think about a speaking opportunity, and then they're asked to be on a podcast, and somebody says, have you got a gift for our listeners? Or have you got a landing page? And then it makes people, oh, I don't know, I haven't got all those things.
Yeah.
But we can help with all that kind of thing too. And, we're very much hand holders. If you want your ass kicked, it's not us. It's not how we roll. We're very much hand holders. So we work with people to say, what is it that you need to get out there, and if you like, a bit like baby birds in a nest, working towards it, and then off you fly. So,
now, if you want your ass kicked, I think you'll do it. You know how to do it, and take names. She'll kick your ass and take names. Yeah, so I love this. I love this. And I will also say, I am not a hoster, but I am somebody who has been, dabbling in, do I want to get into speaking? And I've learned a ton from your Speaker Connections group on Facebook as a speaker, right? Even though you're a hosting application, but just from the interaction from people out there, and people saying, hey, send us your speaker page. And I was like, what is a speaker page? So I go out and I go, okay, I got to research this and figure out. And I, if I ask, you'll give me info, but there's so much to learn from both, really across the spectrum of EventRaptor. So it's really good for everybody. I want to talk a little bit about your voiceover work, because I know that there are people probably on this call who've thought in the past, wouldn't it be fun to do voiceover work? So you've done this for over a decade. Tell me what kind of voiceover work have you traditionally done?
Oh, well, I could talk about voiceover work forever. Voiceover work, typically for me, my genre, the thing that I do most of is actually things like e-learning. So, if somebody's got a course, or for example, a company needs something narrated, e-learning is my thing. Telephone systems, I have done an awful lot of, but also, even though I sound like a twangy Londoner, my voice goes actually very, very deep and slow.
I love it.
So meditation is something I do a lot of too, actually, and kids' stories and that kind of thing. So it's about, voiceover is very much, what is it you do well, because there are people out there that can, turn their hand to anything, but it's about finding the thing that you love to do and that you feel that you're good at doing and sticking with it. So they are the things that I love to do most of all. So they're in my wheelhouse, so to speak.
I love it. So how is AI impacting your voiceover work? Is that having an impact at all?
Massively. And this is it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because there is no point in people saying, I'm not going to embrace AI because that's it. It's not, it is here. Whether you're a writer or whether you're a voiceover, whatever, it is here. So yes, it has impacted people massively. And in years gone by, quick story, it used to be that people would step into a studio, they would travel to a studio and they would do voiceover work and they would be paid for it. Stepping through the door, there's some money and recording the thing and maybe some edits or whatever. And then, of course, the home studio arrived. So you can get people literally sitting in their cupboard with their ironing board, sitting under a duvet, creating something wonderful. And, there are websites like Fiverr.com that the big guys like Pepsi and all the big names, they use, because if they can use somebody that sounds brilliant, who's got a home setup, as opposed to paying thousands and thousands. And then, of course, AI came along. And, of course, now there is this very much people being replaced by AI. It's not there yet in terms of the inflection, tonality, all that kind of thing that a real person can do. But it's not a million miles away, unfortunately. And there will be people that will always want a voice, a real voice. But listen, I understand as much as the next person that if you can get AI to replicate something, your telephone system, and somebody can spend time doing it as opposed to paying somebody, I get that they do it, but it's a shame.
Do you think that you would you may switch genres or migrate into things more like audiobooks, where I would think, at least for fiction, I don't know, AI is going to get pretty good, but I would be hard pressed to be interested in listening to a fiction book that was read by AI.
Audiobooks are another thing because audio, how can I explain it? Audiobooks are a real journey, so to speak. So, for example, if you're narrating an audiobook, and if you think in terms of your voice, I'm not going to try and get too technical here. An audiobook is a real marathon, and it's an awful lot of work, and you're not necessarily well remunerated for it, unless, of course, you have a deal with the author that, you're going to earn a certain percentage in terms of sales, or you're somebody like Stephen Fry who narrates Harry Potter. But it's with something like audiobooks, for example, you can't narrate a whole audiobook in one sitting. Why would you? So what you've got to do is always, when you finish off, you have to listen back, and then you have to try and replicate something. For example, you might be narrating something, and you've left the last chapter on a real cliffhanger, and there's real emotion because something is happening or whatever. So from the get-go, you've then automatically got to ramp up to that particular style. So it's not like switching on and off. There's a whole load of emotion behind it that people perhaps don't realize, that it's not just about talking the words, it's the emotion and what you're bringing to the story. So they're a real labor of love. I have done audiobooks, but
it's a whole different world, it sounds like.
It's a whole different world, yeah.
Well, so let's go back to you made a comment about sort of jokingly about somebody on Fiverr with an ironing board, and I think I told you when we talked about, I one time did a voiceover for work. So my boss at the time, there were 3 videos, 3 different people. They weren't exactly the best speakers, very technical, but he said, can you voice over these? So I did, and it was a bit of work, but of course I don't have a studio, but I'm aware enough to know that, sound bouncing. So I was literally at my desk. I had a sheet or a blanket over me. I had pillows. What is your, when you're doing voiceover, what does your studio look like? And if it's not in quotes, then if it's a real studio.
Well, actually, I moved a year ago, and funnily enough, the house that we lived in had like an old kind of pantry, and that was my studio. So we actually put sound all around it, and that was my little place. And then we moved, so now I've got a new little place. It's not quite as big, but it is about, there are requirements for sound. So, for example, if anybody were going to narrate an audiobook, you have to be very specific with the settings. You can't just go in and narrate. So you've got to make sure that you have you can replicate a sound or a good sound quality. And there are plenty of voiceover people that will travel and take their stuff with them, because now things like microphones and stuff are so sophisticated. And in actual fact, when we went to Australia with our daughter, when she went out to study, I had just finished a big e-learning project, and it was kind of like, there we go, just finished it. And I packed my microphone just in case, because I thought, I don't know.
Yeah.
And as it happened, they said, oh, we need to change a few paragraphs. It was going like, oh, what do I do? So literally, that's what I did in the hotel with the ironing board, with a duvet over me, and picking up from and listening back to me, because it has to sound the same. You have to be able to replicate that same, because we as people notice that, don't we? If we're listening to something and something is patched in, we go, oh, it doesn't sound right.
Echo or whatever. Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah, you definitely notice it. Yeah.
And
Even myself, sometimes if I have to go back and edit something and I go, oh, it's going to sound different because it was, morning and I had my coffee. Now it's nighttime and my nose is stuffed up. So it's going
to. Exactly. So, if I, for example, going back to voiceover, if I get something first thing in the morning, it's not going to be a good recording for me, and I'm not doing any a good service for a client, because it's not going to sound the way it should. And again, with audiobooks, if you're narrating something like audiobooks, you've got to find a place where your voice replicates that. Did you do the last bit in the middle of the day? Did you do it at nighttime? If you're adding gravitas, your voice is different at night than it is in the morning. So there's all those things to think about.
You know what I love, Jennie, I love about you is I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you talk about this, and it's fascinating because I love it. And you're wearing this, this hat.
Only for you.
I love it. I love it. All right. I'm going to check in with the comments real quick. Doris says speaker connections is awesome. She is correct.
Awesome.
And you can go out right now. It's free. You don't have to pay anything to go out on Jennie's group on Facebook, Jennie and Steve's group, speaker connections. It's right out there. We'll put that in the link, of course, in the end too. Tricia says, I'm a non-self-promoting but brilliant speaker. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Dilemma. You are. But we have priorities, right? I think I could, be a pretty good speaker too, but I just have other priorities. So Stephanie says, love this voice, can be very animated, energetic, but also very calming, whatever is needed. Eileen says, I hate AI narrated videos. It's AI because there's no emotion in it. It's going to get better. And if you just go out there and you're just looking randomly, it's not going to be good, but you can train it. And I know people who have trained AI and it gets pretty good, but Bonnie says, I'm Czech with British citizenship. Well, thank you for clarifying that, Bonnie. I did not know that. So that's awesome. Corey Joe Bennett says, Jennie, I love that audiobook as a journey. My 6th grade teacher read The Hobbit to us every day. Most amazingly, he used different voices for the characters. Yeah, that's another thing too, is audiobooks are like a whole nother level. I mean, I do quite a bit of audiobooks, and a lot of times they're read by the author, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. But I love, some of them are really, they're like a production, like they're all just multiple characters, multiple actors doing, so it's a whole different world.
Yeah. I mean, narrating your own book, I do advocate narrating your own book. If it's something you're not comfortable with, then choose somebody that has the same sort of vibe and tonality as you. Somebody was asking me to narrate a book, and she was an American lady. It's kind of like, I'm not an American, and it's a bit of a mismatch. It's something I could do, but it's wherever possible, if you can narrate it yourself or find somebody that is similar, that's the ideal. And it was actually, I was just going to comment on Tricia, a non-self-promoting but brilliant speaker. Tricia, start small. And what does it sound like to speak at a networking meeting? What does it sound like if somebody at a networking meeting says, can you do the 10 minutes? It's building up, and that's how people get to know you.
Yeah, and I think that's good advice for anybody. Tricia, I happen to know, is a TEDx speaker, so she's definitely been. There you go. But it's actually great advice, because I had the same thing. Like, where do I find some place to speak? I mean, I do a lot of speaking on podcast and lives and stuff, but it's different. It's different when you're out there and you're speaking about something specific, right? And I think, EventRaptor, these types of virtual summits are so good for people across the spectrum, because you have people that maybe have never done it, but they're just good speakers, but they have a good topic and they can maybe fit into a virtual summit. as a place where it's not, and especially a place like EventRaptor where you do get a little bit of hand holding along with your responsibilities. So that's
we will
great,
hold
great
your hand.
advice.
Yeah, I mean, be in front of the right audience, be in front of the audience that really want to hear what it is you have to say, and you speak about the thing that is really in your wheelhouse of expertise. And just getting onto that, Steve, my husband, speaks. So 45 minutes or an hour he speaks, and that's how he likes to do it. This kind of thing, not so much. Me, love this. Speak for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I can, but I like this. This is my jam. So
yeah.
play to your strength, really.
So much opportunity out there, both virtually and in person. Another, you kind of alluded to this too with Trisha, is another great way to get yourself more comfortable with speaking are networking events. And I want to talk a little bit about networking events, because we had so many people when we did the promotionals. We had so many people who had very, thoughts about networking. Jennie, you're writing a book. Is the book about networking? I thought that's what you had told me, or is it?
It is. What I decided that I would like to do is to, what we Brits, any of you Brits in the audience will know, is state the bleeding obvious. It's what we Brits call give you the stuff you need to know. The very basic stuff. It's not rocket science, but it's kind of like maybe you need reminding. But I'm also going to put in some stories of people, names obviously not mentioned, that I've met along the way, that I hope will add some, not just some humor, but it will actually just make people think, gosh, maybe I do that. I did a couple of years back, actually, just when the pandemic happened. Somebody asked me to do a talk, and my son was at home, and we did it was a half an hour talk and everything, and we filmed me doing some characters. So basically I sat here and I just kept changing my top and whatever, and the way I had everything set up, I couldn't see the chat. And I did this, and it was kind of like the person, everybody knows who I am, and all this kind of thing. And at the end, I was coming to sort of Q&A and I'm thinking, is anybody actually going to be there? I've offended everybody. But when I looked at the chat, people were laughing, because I made it humorous, but people going, oh, that's me. That's actually, and I hadn't thought about that. And so I want to try and tell some stories, and they'll be true stories, but obviously not naming the people, to go, this was like this, and you could be doing that. So how about doing this? So yeah, that's the aim of the book anyway. So
I love it. I think it's going to be amazing. So you both host and attend networking events. So what do you love most about them? And what is maybe one of your things that you wish, well, how should we frame this? That would be lovely if it would not happen, or we could change about networking. And I'm talking about your standard networking. You show up, you usually go into a breakout room for some amount of time. Maybe it's one-on-one, maybe it's a group, maybe it's a little shorter or longer, but it's basically the similar format.
Well, let's start backwards. There are so many people that go, I don't go networking. It doesn't work for me. It's rubbish. It's not very good, or whatever it may be. It's like people go to networking meetings and they have no idea what to expect. And sometimes that might be down to the host, because sometimes a host might not say, hey, in our hours session, we have breakout rooms or whatever it is we do. But it's like sometimes people are unprepared. They turn up. And there is a commitment. You're giving your time, and you're talking about your business, and it's like you're not prepared. But for me, the fundamental of networking, when you go to networking, is to go and see how you can be of service to people, and to actively listen. And of course, I've got my little props here that I sometimes use. You'll get people saying, oh, but I've come now. I've come to sell this stuff, and I've got that stuff, and I've got the other stuff with the bonus stuff, and I've come to talk about my stuff. And there you go. And so people are so busy, like, I'm here to talk about me. And then, you'll go around the room, people are talking, and they're not listening, because they're thinking, okay, after Susan's speaking, then it's David, and then it's me, and I'm getting ready, and they're not listening. It's like, why would you even bother going? You have to, the basis of networking for me is that you go to see how to be of service to others and to actively listen. But you go with a message that you hope will land and resonate with people, to make a connection for a continued conversation. Anybody who takes this stuff to a meeting and then says, all right, who's going to have some of this? You over there, you. That's not what it's about. This is about building relationships. It's about building community. And so going once or twice and going, that's it, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It might not be the right meeting for you, that much is true.
Yeah.
But it is about how you show up and how it is you talk about what it is you do in a way that is the right way for you. So we often look at people and, like the big speakers and things, for example, we think, oh, I'd like to be like that. Don't be like that. Be like you. If you've got a product or a service, speak in a way that you would speak about it, because otherwise, if you don't, what comes out of your mouth and your body language, there is incongruency.
Yeah.
And
It's
even
not
in these
authentic.
little
Yeah.
Brady Bunch-esque windows, we pick up on that, and we don't know
Yeah.
why. There's something, what is it about that person I'm not sure of? Because we are noticing that something's not quite
Yeah.
right. So
It's very pitchy. There are a lot of events that I've been to where they even say, no hard pitches, and I think people don't understand, well, then what do I talk about? Because that's all they know is their written spiel that they go through. You can earn $20,000 per month doing this lead generation by our new system, and people they zone out. Whereas you come in and you go, guys, I am living the passionate life, and I just love blah 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 blah, and you weave it in somehow. It is a little bit of a dance, but I think that's why a lot of events will say, look, no cold pitches, because it is about, for me, and I think everybody's different. I do have ulterior motives when I go in. I'm looking for guests. I got so many people on this call that are either have been or are going to be guests on my show, and yourself, and that I love to get to know them better in networking events. But I go because, like you said, I want a sense of community. I want to meet interesting people. Maybe I'll collaborate with them. Maybe they'll be a guest on my show. Maybe not. Maybe I'll be able to help them with something. But it's all just about meeting people, and I don't like it when it gets super hard pitchy. And also because a lot of times that just means boring, and I don't do boring very well.
Exactly. But also it's those other things that I ask people, and a lot of people don't have the answer for. So I say to people, who can I introduce you to? What would be of help to you? Do you work internationally or whatever? And I'll often get people going, oh, I don't really know. You must know who's in your wheelhouse. You're an accountant. Do you want to meet more lawyers? Do you want to meet more small businesses, large businesses? And it's like you're asking questions of somebody, and they haven't thought it out.
I think that's ubiquitous in not only in networking events, but I find the same thing because I go to networking events and I always talk about, I am looking for guests, and I here's what I'm looking for. I'm going to send you to a video. I'm going to send you to some clips. I'm going to send you to some information about what I'm looking for in a guest. And I still get people that they don't even hear it. It's just, and then they go, yeah, I want to be on your show. And I'm like, why do you want to be on my show? It's not a show about a hard pitch. You're not going to be able to just get out there and talk about, lead generation for an hour. It's about your story and your humanity, which can help you. I believe there is a benefit, but it's like they don't even hear. And then I get people that, don't have the energy. They're very not confident. And I go, how did you miss all of that in my energy and what I've clearly put out there? So I think a lot of people they're either nervous or they're just, this is me. I want more clients. I want more clients. I want more clients. And that's where
I've had people say before, I've had a grilling from Jennie Eriksen. Oh my God, I didn't expect her to ask me. I'm exhausted. It's kind of like, whoa.
Right.
I hope that helped, because I hope that made you think that there are lots of things that it's worth you thinking about how to answer it. And it's like we have at our networking meeting. I always go through the housekeeping at the beginning strategically, because I want people to get the best out of the meeting. So nobody can say, well, I went to that meeting, I have no idea what to expect. You did, because at the beginning I told you. But it's this thing that people do, that this is one of the things that drives me bananas. People do that, they have a certain amount of time to speak. And it's you've got 2 minutes to speak, and after a minute they go, I'm done, and I yield the floor.
Yeah.
I can't bear it. It's kind of like, no, don't yield the floor. No, you're not allowed to yield the floor at our meeting. You are now, be open for questions. You might not think to, have something ready for 2 minutes, but be open to questions like the ones I was saying, do you work internationally or whatever it is, or have you met such and such or whatever? So have a mind full of what it is you're looking for in terms of continued conversations, and
Yeah.
we often get people say, I've never been asked that before, and I can't believe you haven't been asked that before, because
Yeah.
how do we get to know people unless we ask them questions? It's like, I'm not going to meet you at a networking meeting, and then that's it. I'm going to open my virtual Rolodex and go, there you are, I've met you now, and I'm going to it's kind of like, I have to know you. It's all very well knowing you're an accountant, but what kind of accountant are you? Who do you
Yeah.
serve?
Yeah.
More businesses? Oh, I can't work outside of the US. Okay, note to self, won't introduce to Doris, who's in the UK. All those kinds of things. And yeah, those conversations need to happen in order to keep the momentum going and to develop the relationship.
And I think it's perfectly okay, especially if somebody is not accustomed to it and new. And I will be truthful. I attend every week a lovely little half an hour networking event, but new people come on and there is absolutely zero. It's very chaotic. I've been there a million times, so I know. But I know some people come on and go like, I don't even know what we're doing, or there's conflicting instructions. I think it's okay. I would rather have somebody on a call and in a breakout room say, this is my first time. So, here's something about me. And I'm really interested to hear, your, about you, and, and then learn from that. Versus somebody who just comes in, I've got my spiel, and like you said, they just stop. Or for me, almost worse than that are the people that come in and they just talk and talk and talk. I mean, you literally have depending on what you're going to, you might have a minute, you might have maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but usually not a lot more. Maybe a one-on-one, you might have 6 minutes. It just depends, but you don't have a lot of time.
No.
And when you're in a group with 3 or 4 people and you've got 2 minutes or less to do your spiel, and the timer's right there and it pops up, that's my tip to anybody out there, is just be cognizant. You don't have to give your whole life story. Make what you have to say in that, minute and a half, 2 minutes meaningful. And then say, you know what, I'd love to talk more for you. So let's link up on LinkedIn, but I want to give time for so-and-so, because I've been on so many breakout rooms where people maybe half the room doesn't have time to even introduce themselves because somebody just goes on and on and on. And
they word vomit all over you, and you've got some poor person, whether you're using the Zoom timer or whatever, and they're doing the thing with their phone, all the thing, and they're still word vomiting. And then they go at the end, oh, 4 of us didn't get to talk. No, that's right, because it is a courtesy that we think of each other. And sometimes you try to interject with people, and play the game, understand the rules of the event and what you're doing, and let's be mindful of everybody and make sure that everybody gets a turn to speak. I mean, that's super, super important.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to wait until Jennie's great book comes out to hit all of the juicy details on it, because I do want to talk a little bit about your journey, because it's just so fascinating to me with your hemifacial spasm. So tell me a little bit about how did this come about? What was the moment where you were like, something's not right here?
It's a funny situation, actually, because we had, when we were in the UK, we had our own community magazine business that Steve and I had set up, went out to 9,000 households every month. And we were absolutely run off our feet in terms of, we did the whole thing. We created the adverts, we walked it all around the house, we did all the whole thing. And it was super, super stressful. We got to the stage at one point where we just said, we can't do this anymore, where our children are growing up and things are changing. And so we actually decided we'd have a do-over, and we moved to I know, we moved to Tenerife, one of the Canary Islands, as you do. Let's leave Britain and we'll go and live in one of the Canary Islands. So that's what we did. But actually, when we moved, it's probably from the stress, I had my face started to quiver. And sometimes when you've had too much caffeine or not enough sleep, and you get the little eyebrow, I call an eyebrow twinkle. But then my whole face would start to do it, and I'm thinking, I don't know what's happening here. And when I went to see a specialist, they said, oh yes, you've got a hemifacial spasm. And what it basically means is, trying to get technical here, our nerves are covered in something called the myelin sheath, and the myelin sheath wears away and 2 nerves hit each other, and by hitting each other they make your face judder and shudder, or maybe droop a little bit, like Bell's palsy.
Was there pain when you had this? Was
it painful?
Yeah.
Not that it was painful, but what it did as a migraine sufferer is that if your face is going bananas, it can trigger a migraine. But what it is more than anything, a bit apart from being bothersome, is that it happened when you do all the wonderful things you like to do, like, for example, kissing, laughing, smiling, eating. So anytime I did anything with my face to give my face any expression, so my face would go into meltdown. And there is only, well, the only cure or possible cure for it is to either have brain surgery. And what they do is they put a piece of Teflon in between the nerves to stop them hitting each
Like
other.
frying pan Teflon, like
Yeah, frying pan. So I literally have frying pan in my head. Yes, I do have frying pan in my head. But also that you can actually have Botox. So while people are going, oh, Botox, it's a terrible thing to have, it actually has a medical purpose. So it actually works for hemifacial spasm when people have dystonia or excessive sweating. Botox can actually be quite useful. But for me, it didn't. It kind of froze my face, and it was. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but as it happened, we then moved to Norway, and in the Canary Islands they don't have the expertise. They didn't have the expertise to do the surgery, because with the surgery comes risk. If you think about there, you've got you've got sight, you've got
a
hearing,
lot of nerves and yeah.
but so I did endure it for over a decade. And of course, you learn all those coping mechanisms as well, because you get very clever at trying to do things because you can feel it coming on. So in photographs, for example, there are no photographs of me smiling. My face is just like this. I could keep my face still, or if I could feel it coming on, I would push half of my face up. I'd pull half of my face down because I could feel it doing the thing. And certainly using my teeth or smiling or whatever. But then we moved to Norway, and we found that there was a specialist who did the surgery, and I thought I'd like to give it a go. So I gave it a go. And that was back in 2016. And for a lot of people, when you have the surgery, it works brilliantly first time. It's great. You get people in the support groups going, that was it, went in, came out, look at me, it's wonderful. And that wasn't true for me. And it's not true for a lot of people too. But I was about 50-60% better. And I thought, I'll take it. I was super, super grateful. And as time has gone by, so things, carried on improving. But then what I found was I got so used to living life a certain way that you almost have to unlearn it. So if I can say to you that you have to learn to smile again, it sounds bizarre because we take that for granted.
Yeah.
How many times
All
have we
those
gone
things.
to,
I would, you talked about brushing your teeth and, even speaking, and wow.
That's right. So, how many times have we been in, we've gone to a wedding or whatever, everybody smile, or a networking group photo, smile everybody. And then people single, yeah, you're not showing your teeth. I don't want to show my teeth. So all of those things I had to kind of figure out how to do without bringing my hands up to my face all the time, which is an automatic response. And even now, if I laugh, really belly laugh, I can feel my hand wanting to come up and protect my face. But it's weird because you'd be looking in the mirror thinking, all right, I'm grateful this has worked. How do I do the smiling thing? Oh no, it's not right, is it? That's not what smile. And you almost have to learn again, so to speak.
You're learning to do things again, but also to undo things like the hand, or push your face up, or wow.
Push up. So you can even do it now. Hand under the elbow, push up, push down.
Wow.
So
things that you don't even think of.
Yeah. And so coming full circle, doing what we do now, I have had people say to it, it's all right for you. It's all right for you because, you've been to networking. I see my ears wobbling again. You've been to networking meetings. You're obviously confident on camera. It's all right for you. It's kind of like, well, I would never want to one up somebody and go, well, actually I had brain surgery and you're just, you're just a little bit timid to go in front of the camera. But, I hope that what it does do is inspire people to think that we all have challenges, and that it's how we navigate them and how we find a way around them. And
absolutely. And for us, those of us who, just to be cognizant of the fact that, people might have challenges. I've been certainly on plenty of calls where the host has said, all right, everybody turn your cameras on. I need your cameras on. And I get it. And this is a networking call, you kind of expect it, but this would just be some general call. And sometimes you go, well, there are probably people out there who, maybe there's a reason why they're not on camera. Like, maybe yourself, maybe you're experiencing something, or, there are a bazillion reasons. So it's a good exercise in just being empathetic and understanding of people that, and really people pick your battles. I mean, it's.
Well, also, I mean, it ties into the momentum, as we were saying earlier, that it might be that somebody comes to an event and they're not necessarily needed to be present at a networking meeting, but they're coming to, I don't know, a webinar or something.
Yeah.
And by doing that and not having their camera on, maybe next time they will have their camera on. We're all always a work in progress, but we don't always know, and with the best will in the world, it's how we extend grace to people. I mean, if people are needing to participate visually, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. But we have people, for example, who come to our meetings, and they come from places like South Africa, and they've got load shedding going on, and they can participate if they don't turn the camera on, because it's about meeting people where they are and extending grace, and realizing that it's not always as simple as turn your camera on or smile or whatever. We had one a little while ago. A lady was driving in her car, and she had her 2-year-old grandchild in the back of the car. It's kind of like, oh, I'm going to put my camera. It's got, don't put your camera on. She was trying to reverse. I think she was in Walmart car park. Do the thing. Please don't put your camera on. Make sure your 2-year-old is secure. It's my nerves of you.
Right. Or if I may say, sometimes I'm on calls where, and again, these are not, mostly not, it doesn't happen on networking calls, but just I have regular calls all week long. And you'll have somebody on there who's like, I'm making a smoothie in a blender, and they're off volume, but they're walking around and they're talking on their other phone. And I'm like, just go off camera. It's okay. Yeah. Nobody wants to see you doing, whatever you're doing, talking on another call while you're, it's just, anyway. So I want to go to the comments. We are going to be wrapping up fairly soon. Where the hell has the time gone? So anybody, if you have any words, questions, thoughts, throw them in there, because we're going to start to be wrapping up. I do have a few comments I want to read from our posts, but from our commenters who are live today, Corey Joe says, in the context of audiobooks, Be Useful by Arnold Schwarzenegger, great book, and narrated by him, which is amazing. This is a great example of when the book is read by the author, you don't have to be perfect, because he's not perfect. He has even talked about his speech, and how when he was just getting into acting, everybody was saying, no, you're never going to make it. You've got to get a speech therapist or a speech coach. And he just said, I am who I am, and look how big he got. So, exactly. So let's see. Stephanie says people can sense your energy and motivation. I think this was on network calls 100%. She also says make it authentic, not automatic. I love that too, because automatic is just, I want to know people's personalities too, and I want to feel their energy. Desperation can't be, this is from Stella, desperation can't be your main strategy when networking. Don't treat people like it's a lifeline. That is so profound, because it does feel like it sometimes. And I would rather that somebody just say, look, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. This is my first time. I would love, any tips, whatever. Doris Walsh says, any tips to stop word vomiters? I've had people, I have myself. Sometimes if you just step in and say, sorry to interject. We are getting close to time, and so-and-so hasn't had a chance. So why don't you, it's difficult sometimes, because, when people are just talk, sometimes it's hard to interject. I don't know if you have any tips, Jenny, on stopping word vomiters.
It's tricky, as you quite rightly say, that also do the maths. I mean, if there's 4 people in the room and you've only got a certain amount of time, we can all kind of figure out that we're all going to get about 2 minutes each. So for me, similar to you, I might just say, oh, great, Susan, but Beth Ann hasn't spoken yet, and we're just but it takes being a bit louder, or maybe sort of really interjecting, and you've got to be comfortable interrupting somebody right in the middle of a sentence. I mean, another story I can give you. I went to a meeting actually based in the US, and there was a lady there, and this is really, really tricky situation. I always ended up in the same breakout room with her. I went, 3, 4, 5 times, and she was one of these people that, because she'd been going there forever, and sometimes there is this hierarchical thing at networking meetings. People go, oh, I've been coming here forever. And I think the first time it was kind of like, well, we're in the room. So do we, how should we get going? We're doing it alphabetically, a couple of minutes each. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. We're all grown-ups here. We're all grown-ups. We can work this out. I'll start. Now, this is a lady dealing with cancer. That's really awful. She's a lady not only dealing with cancer, but she also helps people who are also families who are dealing with cancer, you know, when there are children involved and care centres. So her work is amazing, absolutely amazing. And imagine dealing with cancer and supporting others. How wonderful. But then when you've got 20 minutes in a room and 17 minutes in, she hasn't stopped talking. Do you want to be the person that interrupts a cancer lady?
Yeah, that's a toughie.
You really, really don't. So just as you're thinking, I can go in there, and she'll say, and somebody else who, whatever, you don't want to be that person. But then you have taken the time to go to the meeting. And it might be that somebody who speaks is going to say, I can help you. Have you met this person? But because she was on her podium, and she, you know, she does an incredible amount of work, but then you might question, is that fair?
Yeah.
And then you go, you know, again and again, and you think, I'm always ending up with this person.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to let it go. I will say sometimes what I've done is I will sort of interject with a question to say, oh, you know, can I ask you a question about that so and so? Because it's almost like when a dog gets in that zone and you got to kind of give them a little bit of a, you know, get out of this, get out of the zone. Sometimes that works too if you ask a question and then then they kind of pivot a little bit from this word vomit into some other like, oh yes, I'll answer that question, and maybe then you have a little bit better of opportunity. But sometimes you just have to let it go. Stephanie says if you're looking for clients, hogging the conversation isn't the way to do it. Tricia says sometimes asking a question works best. See, there you go. And Eileen says I try to be fast, but that's because I don't like to speak. Well, we get that. We understand.
Well. I have a thing about that, Eileen. So if you have a minute to speak, say your networking meeting, that's 150 words. So I would suggest to you that when you want to craft a message, it's work on the basis of 150 words when you're sketching something out. But actually, less is more. You are better to speak slower and say less than you are to speak faster. So if you think about 150 words a minute, that's about the speed I'm speaking now. And if you think about the news is read at something like 180, 190 words a minute, because we only tune into the news on TV for things we're interested in, whether it's politics, the sports game, or what happened in our local town, because we dip in and out. But you're better to be slower and say less. And not that I advocate dropping your mic, but almost mic dropping and then speaking fast, because you really want people to understand what you say. So
and I agree. And I would say another tip too is don't be afraid to practice. I write down my spiel, and I know, so I have regular events that I go to. So I know one event I go to, the Founders Network, they're going to ask me to do a 30-second, and I don't want to, there's a lot of people. I don't want to be going on for a minute and a half. So I have a shorter where I don't go into, I'm a corporate queen, former corporate queen, blah, 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 blah. I have other ones where I just know. So knowing what's expected, again, this is where you had talked about earlier about taking responsibility. So ask, you know, hey, I'm going to this live. How much time, roughly are we going to get? Because you might have multiple versions of, just reminder, little, notes. And I do, because sometimes I have to talk or I'm expected to talk for 1 or 2 minutes. And sometimes it's a 30-second intro and I don't want to do the same thing. And it's okay to practice. I do it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It's I always call it like Lego blocks. So for example, what you talk about is like Lego blocks. So if you've only got a minute, it's that much. You've got 10 minutes, they need a 10-minute speaker, it's that much. So what can you add and what can you take away so that you've got a goodie bag of stuff. So when you go to a meeting, you know what to expect. I get 5 minutes, I can talk about this, but I can't mention that. So
and then if you get to that, if you've got 2 minutes and you get to that 1 minute and you're just, versus stopping abruptly, have a little, cheat sheet of, also, get personal, also, I'm in the States. I am from the lovely state of Virginia. I live here with my dog, been here a while, and just, do a little bit of just a little chit chatty just to kind of extend and let people get to know you. don't, get into your, your diary stuff, but you can just do a few things. We had a few comments, so we put some promos out there for this episode, and we had some comments about networking. From a Dr. Diane says, I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm wondering if a real relationship can come from speed networking. It seems so superficial and fast. Can't wait to learn from you and Jen. Well, Jenny, what do you think? Can you cultivate a real relationship with a speed networking?
You could, absolutely you can, because as you were saying before, we can't tell people everything we do, even if we have 5 minutes each. We can't. We're only giving people a flavor of what we do. So if you're in a speed networking situation, you're giving somebody a flavor, and obviously they're giving you a flavor back, and then go and have a virtual beverage of choice conversation afterwards. If something or somebody resonates with you, how do you connect with people? If you connect on LinkedIn, connect with them. Just say, hey, love to see you. Shall we have a longer conversation? You certainly can. I mean, literally, she is my best friend. My best friend is flying today from her holiday destination. We've known each other since 2004, and we met at a networking meeting. So I have people that that I don't speak to weekly or even monthly, but they're there, and so you can build relationships. We're not all for everybody, and that's okay. But the good thing is that if we use networking appropriately and we think about how we connect others, we can be a great conduit, a great connection for people, and there's enough for them, for all of us.
100%.
Mindset.
Yeah, I mean, if you go into a speed networking and you expect that after, your 1 minute spiel that you're going to be BFFs with somebody, that's not going to happen. But Doris Walsh is on here. She's a great example. I met Doris on a networking event. I loved her. I set up a call. We had a call. She just blew me away. So she's going to be a guest on my show, but we still interact. We, DM, we interact out in social media world. So we are building a relationship. So it's definitely possible.
Absolutely. And she and I are also friends as well. And the last time we spoke, and I only met her recently, the last time we spoke, I don't even know that we spoke much about business. But what you do is not just speak about business, but also get to know people too. Because often you'll find things out about people or get to know them when you're not talking about business. And that's all part of forging the relationship too. So she's one of my very favorite. I love her to bits. She's just an all-round awesome person. So you'll have a lovely time, interviewing her. But yeah.
And I know there are some corporate people out there listening too. And it's the same with corporate. I heard so many times when I was in working in my traditional professional job, don't get too close. Don't, and I knew people who were really nice people, but they never shared anything, even just, my dog or and then one day I remember this guy who for years, he was a couple levels above me at one of the companies I worked for. And he started talking about gardening just before a meeting. And I thought, of course, first I thought, did you just get laid last night? Because I thought, where is this coming from? Because I've never heard it, but it was so refreshing to have that. So Louise commented, I love speed networking and it does need some guidelines, but we as participants also have a responsibility in this. I'm no stranger to politely redirecting focus or inviting the next person to share if I see we're running low on time. Yeah, that's what we talked about earlier. Yeah. And then Luke says 2 major pet peeves: boredom and unsolicited pitch slapping. So yeah, unfortunately, that's just also part of the game. The boredom, something that doesn't interest you might interest somebody else, and so that's just the nature. And depending on what you're looking for there, in your personality. So,
I was just going to say also, I understand that, but also we have a responsibility to have a message that is not going to bore the pants off people, and so it is about. It is about preparing before you go. And when people say, oh, I'm a LinkedIn expert and everybody knows what I do, or I'm an accountant, it's obvious. Do better. Tell people, what it is you really love. I love small businesses. I love working with this or whatever. So work on not just
passion. Show a little passion about what you do. I think that's great.
Exactly. And that will show when you do that congruency between what comes out of your mouth and your body language, and you'll think, I don't even need an accountant, but I'll
remember you when somebody comes out and says, does anybody know an accountant? And you go, oh, I remember her. But you know what? You don't remember the 10 other accountants that came on there and did their little very boring. So it's important. It's important. All right. Stephanie says people will listen in when you're speaking slower or softer. Yes, that can be a great technique. And speed networking is a solution to word vomiters sometimes. Yep. And Tricia says that's where questions come in handy. You can tweak the conversation to something more interesting. Yes, I agree. Just like I said earlier, that sometimes you can just interject a little bit more easier with a question. Jenny, before we wrap up, what do you want our listeners to know? What's the best way to get in touch with you? Anything coming up? And we'll put all of this stuff in the comments as well, but just...
yeah. Well, you can reach us at eventraptor.com. Do come along to, we've got lots of free resources. Be in our speaker directory. You can create a free profile in our speaker directory. And we've got lots of people that dip into the speaker directory looking for guests for their podcast, live streams, summits, whatever. Come to Speaker Connections if you're looking to speak more, or maybe you've got your own platform and you're looking for guests or speakers. We've got lots of masterclasses, summits going on the whole time, lots of free stuff. Come along and be an attendee and learn some stuff and connect with other people. I mean,
and share. Yeah, there's so much knowledge out there too. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So yes, we'll put all the details wherever you want to put the details.
Yeah, EventRaptor.com. Jenny's also on LinkedIn, so make sure you connect with her on LinkedIn. And what else? We had something else here. Yeah, it was LinkedIn and EventRaptor. So yeah, and then the Speaker Connection group in Facebook. Definitely go out there and, like you said, in that. Okay, so Jenny, thank you so much. You are such a badass. I get such a kick out of. I'm going to rewatch this and I'm going to watch you saying all this really cool, profound, useful, interesting stuff. And you're wearing this hat. So I love this. I love that you are just a fun participant and you're a badass. Thank you so much for being my guest here. Anytime, you are welcome back. We didn't even touch on. I say this every week, but this is why I get so passionate about who I bring on this show, because I love people who I could just say, you know what, what's your thoughts on bathrooms? And I know you would just give me, we could talk for another half an hour on the state of bathrooms and loos in the world.
Oh, I love it. Oh, what a wonderful Britishism, loos. I love it. I'm loving it.
Well, thank you so much for being my guest. Just a reminder for everybody out there that next week, actually this weekend, so the 9th, the most of North America is going to spring forward for daylight savings time. So anybody outside of the US, and so I'm talking to a lot of the European folks who are who tune into the show, or who have other stuff on your calendars that you need to address. Times are going to be skewed. So in this global world, just make sure you double check. This particular show will continue to run because it originated. That's another complication. Where did it originate? Since I set up these events, it'll still run for the US folks at 10 a.m. Eastern time. But if you're in the UK, it's not going to be 3, it's going to be 2. If you're in Oslo, it's not going to be 4, it's going to be 3. So just be cognizant. Most of them will update, but just be aware, and just generally your calendar. I like to give these announcements because I forget, and then my whole calendar gets messed up. Anyway, next week, my very special guest is going to be Willie Nicol. So a lot of you know Willie. Willie's awesome. He was a police officer for 31 years in Scotland. He spent 7 years in corporate security. Then he was made redundant. And now he's pivoted to, he is a personal growth and mindset coach for men. So we're going to be talking about men's mental health next week. Very important topic. Willie works with men who are stressed, burned out, stuck, or just lost, and he helps them get their mojo back. So look forward to that. Very excited to have Willie on. He is very cool, and he has had an amazing journey. So I'm looking forward to that. Again, another person I met in networking. Yeah. If you're watching on LinkedIn out there, please connect, if you're not already, both with me and my lovely guest. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or feedback that we did not get into, please leave them in the comments or DM us if you can. And then congratulate yourself about getting real about your career, your purpose, and your passion. Jenny, Miss Hattie Arbuckle, and I now will bid you a fond farewell. Take it easy, everybody.
Bye.